Yeah, my number one is actually self-management.
I put it out there, dude. You, Uguay from Kung Fu Panda, dude, you have gone next level on this shit. And I'm so glad you're bringing it up.
I appreciate that. It's something I have been working on because, and just for character reference there, Grant and I have been rewatching Kung Fu Panda, and it has been suggested by some of our team that I am Uguay and Grant is Shifu. So if you have seen if you grew up on that and you did see it, you might have a little chuckle, but we're kind of working with that.
The worst thing is the more I get reminded of it, the more I look at you and me and start recognizing the character traits, like our facial traits that are kind of similar to those two characters.
Even the balding thing. I'm like, this is getting out of hand.
This is trash.
But I'm fine. Uguay is now my spirit animal.
The Shifu, I'm in.
There's, again, layers to this one here, but I'll give the reference point is that if you've, let's say, haven't managed yourself well and then you're showing up in business, the likelihood that you solve problems well, delegate well, do anything well is low. So case in point, you went out, had a massive night of drinking and you don't follow any type of thing. You rock up to work the next day or to business. Come on, what's the chances you do well?
Very slim.
Yeah, conversely, if you manage your calendar well, get a good night's rest, look after your health and everything and you rock up and you're in the zone, how does your day go?
Extremely well.
Yeah. Now, I would argue that you could have the exact same day, but how you show up and how you're prepared for that day leads to very, very different outputs.
Mm.
So I look at that and go that self-management becomes so critical here. And people have evidence of this. And like maybe you've had a meeting that went terribly and then you dragged it into the next meeting. Maybe you had a meeting that went well. Have you ever like closed a big deal? Been on such a high that it's like for the rest of the day you had the Midas touch?
Yeah, and it's infectious that everyone around you just starts doing the things you want them to do. Yeah.
Completely. I am of the view that instead of letting that happen by chance, so instead of letting external environments, external things dictate your state, your beliefs, your time management, is that you take control of it. And whether this is through good routines or morning routines and habits, whether this is through mindfulness, whether this is just through intention, setting yourself up and managing yourself well, I think is one of the superpowers that comes to hard skills that'll pay you forever.
Do you think that one of the major ways that people will see that they aren't controlling their state very well is if they're getting distracted or like procrastinating, or to your example of like if they've had a bad situation, they just push that into every other meeting, every other part of their life and all those kind of things? Or is there more to it?
I'll link this to personal experience. I think anyone that's good at something was not good at something beforehand. So for someone to reference the idea that I'm Uguay today, I take that compliment like really to heart because I was practically the opposite of that. So why did I work so much on self-management and state management, and why is that something I've put in a lot of effort into in the last or recent years? I'll say it's been a while now, is because I started to do the math on how much it was costing me. I was seeing I was doing damage, and I'll give you some examples here. Is if you were someone that was a bit of a hothead, and I definitely was, right, when I was running the ad agency, I had good team members quit because when they made a mistake, I'd flip a table. Not literally, but you get the idea. So it's like, who wants to work with that guy?
Yeah.
And do you know what? If something went wrong in business, is I would bitch and moan and complain and a whole bunch of things. And it's like, well, who wants to work with that guy? Well, I can only imagine how much of my team wanted to hang around it. So just in that example there, you can see how much damage it would do. And I looked at that and said that not managing myself well has got a huge cost.
Yeah.
So that's where the initial pain kind of came from. And then we lead that into today where it's like, isn't it funny that when I go and do more challenging things, but I've self-managed myself, I can influence things very differently.
Yeah.
Right? If I want my business to run a certain way, like this plays such a massive role.
I have had this situation where I actually over state managed, and I feel like there's this middle ground. And so, like, what am I saying here? I had such a zen state where people would make mistakes and things wouldn't get done, etc., that I would just accept it. And so there has to be like this middle ground.
Can I unpack that quickly?
Let's do it.
But I think when it comes to self-management, right, I don't want this to be down to it's like, oh, doing meditation and working out and it's like a woo-woo thing.
Yep.
That's part of it, don't get me wrong. But good self-management comes into other things as well. And I'm going to talk about this. It's like, hey, managing your calendar well.
Time management.
Your time management is part of self-management. Right? It's like sleep, getting enough sleep. That alone could be the difference between you doing well and not well in business.
Food. What do you
Food,
consume?
your diet, right? Not your network, sorry, your environment, right? Put yourself into a place where you can perform at your best, right? I'll give you an example, right? In our world, if you work online, work from a place that's got crappy internet on a poor computer.
Can you still control your state in those scenarios? Dude, all gloves are off. All bets are off in that situation. I've become a monster.
Please, once you have a toddler, you can stay managing. Poor internet's easy for me now.
No, I'm still at that stage. I'm at that statement. But I concur because this sort of concept of self-management it's involved in everything in life, but it is very reliant on everything else as well. Like if you could eat very healthy, you could have the greatest environment, but if you had like shit time management and shit sleep, it's ruined. Like it's almost like all of the components have to be ticked in order for you to show up and be appropriate and do the thing necessary. But there's so many layers to it as well that this is almost a game that I don't think that you will ever feel as though you've perfected, Charlie. Or do you feel like you've perfected it now?
I by no means think I've perfected it, but I would just let people know that this has made a really big impact here. It continues to pay me very well. Like the results from working on self-management as a whole have financial impacts in a big way, have business impacts in a big way, have happiness impacts in a big way. Relationship impacts, like managing yourself well and performing well. And that's what this is really about. Self-management leads to better performance of you is one of the most critical skills that comes to business and life.
And it really underpins the concept of a hard skill. Like that is because you're not born at like it. Like you're not born to be able to manage your state. Like, and people don't teach it. You don't get it at school. You don't get it from your family. Typically, yes, there might be one or two, but like this is a skill you have to work on. Everyone's different. Everyone's had different things pop up in their life that they've had to interpret different ways. Like,
should we go into a bit of the how quickly?
I'd love to.
Okay, so one of the things that definitely helped me is modeling. So if there's something you're looking to achieve is to model the people that have done it. So if you're someone right now that isn't getting the results you want, this could be very much an area to look into is what do the routines, behaviors and habits look like of the person who's doing it. So I would say that's a really good starting point is to find the people who have the result, model their management and self-management. How do they run their calendar? How do they do all these things? And then tweak to suit. Right? Because some things are going to work for you that might be a little bit different to someone else based on personal circumstance, skills and ability and all the rest of it. So like for some people, like for example, meditation has been a game changer for them. They meditate before they come into work or big meetings and they crush, right? For others and myself in this category, that hasn't necessarily been the game changer for me.
Yep.
So I look at it and go like find your flavor within it, but self-management still reigns true.
And I like the modeling thing. Like I like Warren Buffett as an example as an investor, but I hate the fact that he drinks Coke and I probably wouldn't drive the car that he's driving and all these kind of things. Like it's being able to take components out of the different people, right? Like I want his ability to assess an investment. I definitely don't want to take life advice of what I should consume from him.
I will give one last point before we move along this. I think people take self-management too far and they end up in the David Goggins camp. Right.
Expand.
Well, they think that self-management is like, I suppose, like beating yourself into the most ridiculous routines everywhere. It's like a mind over muscle type thing. And for some people, they definitely need a bit of that. They're a bit too loosey-goosey. Some structure and routine would benefit them massively. But you can over-structure and over where it's like you're living such a disciplined life and just beating yourself so far down that you're actually not managing yourself well. Yeah. So the aim isn't to make you a marathon runner every day before you come to the office.
Oh, I had 2 points on that. I remember this thing with David Goggins where he's like, I don't wear headphones at the gym because when I'm out in the real world and if I have a scenario, I'm not going to have headphones. And I'm sitting there going, every scenario I will be in for the rest of my life, I'll have ability to grab headphones, man. Like I'm not going to war with no one.
I'll sing if I have to.
Yeah, but
Right, that's where
I'm in.
you can definitely go too far. People go too far with these routines and things as well. But
Totally.
I concur.
And then the second thing that I will say to this as well, on overdoing the routine, I was talking to a CEO of a sales organization that we both know quite a while ago about how he would look at like salespeople's calendar, and they would have 2.5 hours of like personal development before they start their day. And like just overcooking, like you got meditation, you got gratitude, you got yoga, you like literally just stacking this PD to delay the actual thing that's going to get them the results. So there is a fine balance of not enough versus too much. And I think it's person by person.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into creating wealth inside and outside your business, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.